NATO chief Mark Rutte has confirmed the presence of North Korean troops in Russia's Kursk region, which borders Ukraine. He was speaking after a high-level delegation from South Korea briefed the North Atlantic Council, that is NATO's main decision-making body, on this issue.
The deployment of North Korean troops represents, one, a significant escalation in the DPRK's ongoing involvement in Russia's illegal war. Two, yet another breach of UN Security Council resolutions. And three, a dangerous expansion of Russia's war.
Ukrainian intelligence had earlier published a video purporting to show North Korean soldiers being equipped at a training ground in Russia's Far East. Kyiv says 12,000 North Korean troops, including 500 officers and 3 generals, are being trained in 5 military bases. Well, Will Denselow joins us live from Brussels. Will, just heard that Kyiv, as well as Seoul, have had intelligence on this deployment. So what else did the NATO chief have to say in this particular briefing?
Well, Mark Rutte, as we just heard, describes this as a significant escalation, and a huge reason for this is the fact that Kursk is a Russian territory that is partially occupied by Ukrainian forces. So from these statements from Mark Rutte, we can really begin to infer that Ukrainian forces and troops from North Korea are either in or ready for direct combat with one another, of course, marking a significant escalation. As well as these other points that Mark Rutte pointed out, another breach of UN Security Council resolutions, for example. Mark Rutte also said that this has major ramifications not just for Ukraine and for the closer region, but also has geopolitical ramifications on the other side of the world, considering the fact that this relationship between Moscow and Pyongyang is not just to do with the sending of troops from North Korea to Russia, but this has been a relationship over recent months that has also seen North Korea sending plenty of ammunition to Russia, and in exchange, reports that Moscow has sent military information technology in the other direction. That is why Mark Rutte has said very clearly that this represents a threat not just to Ukraine and the wider region here in Europe, but also represents a major threat to the Korean Peninsula too.
Oh, well, the degree of that threat, as you've just laid out, likely prompting Mr. Rutte to call on Moscow and Pyongyang to, and I quote him, cease these actions immediately. But what can NATO do to make sure Moscow and North Korea and Pyongyang actually follow this urging from the NATO?
Well, Mark Rutte joined this address that lasted just about 4 minutes or so. He didn't take questions from the media, but he said that this development shows that Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, is desperate, having to rely on external forces to continue what Mark Rutte said was Putin's war of aggression in Ukraine. But he said in terms of tangibles that NATO and its allies will continue to do what they can to support Ukraine. He said that they will continue to monitor the situation. They'll continue discussing what more NATO and its allies can do to support Kyiv in its war with Russia. Of course, this comes just off the heels of Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky coming here to Brussels just a few days ago to present its victory plan that included things like a call to be invited into the NATO military alliance, for Ukraine to be sent more weapons without preconditions, meaning Ukraine wants to see weapons being sent to its allies that could hit targets deeper into Russian territory, something that a number of Ukraine's allies has so far been somewhat unwilling to do. So Ukraine has laid out what it wants to see from NATO, but those conversations among the military alliance will certainly continue. But when it comes to immediate tasks, Mark Rutte says he'll have further conversations with Ukraine and South Korean counterparts.
Oh, thanks. And Will Denselow in Brussels, of course, NATO today confirming the actual deployment of North Korean troops in Russia's Kursk region.